Hi everybody, Jo here again. How you doing? I hope you're feeling okay. Today, with it being Tuesday, I thought we'd create a tag. On our socials, we love a bit of a tag Tuesday. Now, I'm going to create a festive tag, but it could be you want a tag for a birthday, for a mail card, and all you just change the colours up, change the stamps up. The techniques can still be used, and that's what I love about crafting, that we can put our spin and we can change things up. You know me, I'll try and make this same tag again, but my mind wanders and I do change them up as I'm going. But I just thought I'd go for some different colour tones for a change, and I've been really experimenting with my colours recently and just mixing them up a bit. So this is the sort of thing I'm going to come up with, and this is on one of our large watercolour tags. And these are lovely because with them being watercolour card, they just take so many, well, it takes water, but there's so many different techniques you can do on them. So I'm going to put my tag there so I can look at it and try and do something similar. As I say, you know me. Now the background, it's a background we've done many times before, but I love to do this. And we're going to use oxides just because we need the shape, the squareness. We're going to use some Lost Shadow and some Salvaged Patina. And this is just that lovely dragging, 45 degrees and drag. And you're just going to drag across. You can drag down if you want, go down the tag. I just prefer to go across, but you know what? We're all different. And the Lost Shadow just gives us a lovely base. And then Salvaged Patina, love this colour. And we're going for sort of like the non-usual Christmas colours. But I just want to do something that bit different. Now this one, I seem to have come in heavy with the blue, but I don't mind. As I say, no two will ever be the same. Look at that, even check. I have to put it on the right way, that the lid, because I've written the name on the side. And yes, that's what I'm like. Stencil brush. Now I have the same brush for my oxides as my elements, but all I'll do, because I was using elements recently, I give it a bit of a clean on my inky binky, but then it's safe to go in my oxides. And I'm just going to blend this a little. Sorry, excuse me. And the same, when I finished making the tag with my oxides, I'll just give it a wipe and then it can go back in my elements. For me, there's so little ink left on here, especially when I've cleaned it on my inky binky, that I'm not worried about cross-contamination. So I've got some ink on there, so I'm going to spritz that. And then a smaller tag. These watercolour tags come in the large and the small. So just to use that ink, let's just smoosh it on there a bit. And again, this will just give me a background, a starting point. And even if you don't get much ink on there, do you know what? Anything you get will give you that starting point. Then we'll give that a wipe. And then I love those colours, but I wanted something a bit richer. And so I'm going to come in with Rustic Wilderness. And when I chose Rustic Wilderness, I wasn't sure if it was going to work. But I did like the end result. So in the corner, and then gently, when you've got less ink, just blend up a little. Same again in this top corner. Nice deep colour. And then when we've got less ink, again, just blend that a little. And again, put the lid on the right way so I can read the name on the side. And then we've got some lovely green ink on there. So again, let's not waste that. Let's add that. And this will be nice on top of that blue. And when that's left to dry, fabulous. I'm going to put that over there. And I've probably got enough ink. I could have probably done 2 tags. But you get the gist. Now, if you're doing a journal, mop it up in your journal. Again, it's lovely what we can do. And one project just leads to another. Now, for colours in Versafine Clair ink, again, when I got the project out, what I did was I got my blues out. So I've got Twilight, a lovely dark colour. Then I got Paradise, very Perry and Arctic. And that's what I tend to do. The way I work is I get a variety of stamps out that I think I might use, and I get a variety of coloured inks, and then I see where it takes me. So starting with the darker colour, and that's the Twilight. I wanted some berries to colour in. So this is the wild berries. And a little tip here, depending on how many berries you actually want to colour, depends on how much you stamp with this. Just saying. Done it before where I've stamped it a lot and then I've come to colour the berries in and I think, oh, actually, I've not got all that time. So happy with that up there. And you know me, love my opposite corners. So I've gone for the fir cone branch and paradise. And I know you'd normally go for brown with this, but I just fancied something a little bit different. So I'm just going to pop this in this corner. And I decided normally I would do this in browns, but you know what? I was going to go for blues. Just magical for a change. And then the mini holly. Now, shh, don't tell Tracy, please. I have 2 mini hollies. One has the lovely stem on for when I need a stem. This one gave the stamp an anaesthetic and then I just cut the stem off because sometimes I don't want the stem. And it just makes it easier for me when I'm stamping. So this, I want the lovely holly leaves and I want to just stamp them, but I almost want them to go a little bit into the background. So I decided the Very Perry was just such a lovely colour. And again, I'm just going along and speed stamping just there so it's sort of in the background. And I'm just checking it is Very Perry, yes. You know me, I'm liable to tell you the wrong colour or make something up. And again here, same colour. I wanted to tie that. Although I've used different stamps and different colours, this will tie the top and bottom together. So it will give us that lovely cohesive design. So you see how we've got, I mean, already I love that, almost like the misty colours. Now, I do think for me, you could leave it like that if you didn't want to add any colour. In fact, I'm quite tempted. I'm obviously going to do the one I've done, but when I look at the two together, I would actually make some and leave them like this. But that's the beauty of making these designs, is that if you want to stop at this point, you can stop. If you want to carry on, you can carry on. Now, on my original, I've stamped the word Christmas from the seasonal words all the way across. So for this one, I thought I'd choose peace. So we're just slightly different, and we're going for Arctic. Now again, on my original, I did them all in first generation, but on this one, you see, yeah, I had to go at first and second, but you can't really see the second, so I think I will stick with all first. And it's just, and again, I'm not pressing, I'm lifting up because I don't want the whole of that. I just want it to disappear into the background. So that's a little tip. If you don't want, so obviously normally when we're stamping, we press it down, we let the ink soak in and we get a good image. Sometimes ink up and almost just press and lift up when you just want part of it and you want it to look like it's just in the background. As I say, you could do second generation, but the second generation just didn't show up enough for me. So I've gone for that almost. You could set the block off and do the organic stamping, but with a word, I don't find that very easy. So that's why I've gone for that. But again, you can choose. There's lots of options here. Now, I'm giving that a blot. Now, also, you could sprinkle some water. We could add a little bit of faux bleach in. But I didn't fancy doing that for this one. And again, you know, it's nice to mix things up a bit. So, Zig Clean Colour pens. We've got the little cones at the bottom. And I've gone for 67 mustard and 69 blush. And I've also got my blender if I need it. And what I'm going to do is with the darker colour, the mustard, just colour the base and then drag a little bit of the lighter colour up. And just to give my fir cones a little bit more, that's only the edge, so I'll just keep that with the one colour. And it just makes them stand out a little bit more. Especially where we've got the darker ink in this corner. Almost they can disappear. And we just want to make sure we can see them. Now, it might be you want to use your pencils on this. I love the fact of a watercolour tag. It takes these pens really well. Okay, lids on. Berries. So for berries, I've gone for my Blender 99. I love this. And then the colours of blue I've gone for are, I just went for a dark, which happens to be 38 peacock blue, and then a mid, which is 34 dull blue. But I wouldn't worry too much about the numbers, just go for a dark and a medium. So I'm just adding a little bit of the dark blue. And again, this is just my speed colouring. If you want to take your time, I mean, when you look, there's not that much difference between those two colours of blue. But then with the blender, that's where I can come in and then blend into that middle. And if you've not got a light blue, you could colour the middle with a light blue. But I just think it's nice to use the blender and blend that colour in. So if you didn't have a light blue, that's where your blender comes in. I mean, like I say, to me, that this mid blue, there's not that much difference. Just blend that in and you get such lovely tones. Now this one will put some dark. I mean, I'm doing this upside down just because I find it easier that way. So again, I'll add some light. And again, it's just those three colours. The way I always cheat, the dark, light, middle, and then light. And my blender's basically acting as my light colour with these. Very useful, these blender pens. I have to say, I'm not saying I love it, but I bought two. Well, I don't want to be without. And I love the way as it's drying. If I lift it up, I don't know if you can see. I love the way it dries. So, just this one here, one here, one here. And yes, I do this. I tend to do, again, a bit of speed colouring. But as I say, it might be you've got a lovely afternoon and you can stamp yourself some tags and just spend the time colouring and really enjoy it. If I wanted a bit more blue, such as there, look, I can pick it up on my blender and blend it in. Just a bit more the darker. That's better. Yeah, there we go. It's more like it. That one there, that one there, and then that one. And what I tend to do is turn it round and just have a look and see if there's anywhere I feel I just need to go back in and give a hint more of the darker colour. Then I can just blend a little bit more. And again, it's just about building those colours up and getting such a lovely effect. And then when you're happy with it, lids on. Now for me it's important, I was going to say to clean the blender, and look what I haven't done. So, piece of scrap paper, look, there we go. Get rid of that blue. There we go, back to white, and that's lovely to use again. Oh, my lid won't pop on. That's one thing, they do click. If you listen, make sure you click the lid on, because before now I've been to my box and you don't want the lid to come off and your pen to dry out. But I'm sure you all know that. Jelly roll. Now, with your berries, again, now it could be on the smaller berries here, you want to carry on the theme and keep to the blue and add some blue. But I just thought I want this to pop, so I'm going to have red. But again, it could be, I mean, if you're batch making this, you know, what's lovely is you could leave one without colouring the berries. You could make one where you colour the berries, one where these are blue, another where you add them in the red. Oh, you could do one all in purples. And then do you know what? You could put them on the gifts for your friends that you know. I mean, I'm sure, like me, you know some friends that really love blues, some that are really into purples. As you know, I'm an orange. I love orange, browns, vintage, but I'm really trying to, you know, get to know my inner blue. At a workshop lady recently, we had a lady from America, and because we're doing lots of blue and purple colours, she did say to me, I think your favourite colours are blue and purple. And we just all laughed and said, well, actually, it's orange, but I'm trying to, you know, it's good to use colours that you don't normally use. Now look at that, even here where we had that brown look, it almost goes in, absorbs into the card and gives that lovely misty feel because we've got that green behind. Just think this is lovely, and it's so different to a lot of the things that I make, and it's nice to do something a little bit different. Now, when it comes to a sentiment, I decided to get one of my older Christmas stickers, and this is set 2, I've written on the back. And again, this is one of the Christmas ones, and as you can tell, I've used a lot of them. I like these. I have got one that's got a few more on, look. I mean, lovely work, bauble and bows, reindeer, hot roasted chestnuts, but I'm going for stocking filler. Goodwill, that's a lovely one. But I like the colour, the stocking filler as well. And I'm thinking if this goes on a Christmas present, that's a good sentiment. But I am going to just cut it in half. And again, don't forget you can do that. You don't have to put your sentiments on in one go. So I think we'll pop stocking across there. You could just leave it a stocking if you want. Thought. Filler we'll have under there. And just to make it pop, I'll just come in, and also a little tip, if you haven't got it quite straight, if you put a little square round like this, which I've got to be honest is why I do it, because I do have trouble getting things straight, and if you just make it a bit squiggly like this, doesn't matter if it's not straight, because do you know what? You won't notice. Well, that's my theory. Little white highlights, and again, the Signo, just want to, where's my scrap of paper? I don't know if it's just me, but how many scraps of paper do you get out of the bin to use to check things are working? Or again, is that just me? Some little white highlights. And again, if you let the berries dry, your white highlights will look better. And the other thing is, it's nice if you just... Now, if you're somewhere that doesn't have snow, and I know some of our lovely friends and followers, you don't have snow at Christmas and you don't want snow on your Christmas cards, just ignore this bit. You add some lovely greenery. I'm just adding, just in where the snow would land, look, in some of these little... And I'm not going to overdo it, but I love the branches for this. Oh, I hope you can't hear that. My little tummy's rumbling. So I could blame it on Eric, but Eric's decided he didn't want to come and sit in here today. For some reason, he sat on the bottom of the stairs, bless him. So I've just added, and can you see, it's not a great deal, but just some little highlights, some little bits of snow, just where it would land. And again, the same on the... But I am going to add some snow, some splatters of snow. So this will just blend into that background. Now, a little tip from me, when it comes, I'm going to use the craft yarns, and I would thread this before I add the Posca snow, just because I find it easier. And you know my other little tip, if you struggle with your craft yarns, so I just went for 3 random colours, and mine are all mixed up in one big bag, so I don't know which sets these are from. But I know some of you have been in touch and said you find it difficult to actually poke this through. So if you do a piece of, this is just elastic, and I keep it on my desk, if you put it through there, and then pop your yarns in the little loop, and pull the elastic, but hold on to these ends. There we go. The elastic will pop these through, and then you can just get the 3, get the little tails, look, And honestly, that's one of mine. Recently, a few people have said, what's a craft item you can't live without? And we've all put things like inks, stamps, you know, brushes. But for me, this little piece of, I bought the elastic when I was making some journals for a workshop a few years ago. But this is so useful when I want to pull the threads through. So this is probably one of the things I couldn't live without. There we go. So, Posca. Give it a good shake, and then let's just add some snow. Again, I'm just tapping it here, look, holding it quite close so I can direct where I want it. If you didn't want to add the Posca snow, you could add some faux bleaching, but I just like that white, and that's enough. We don't want to overcook it, but we'll wipe this up. So we've got a nice clean mat, and there we go. And I've got to be honest, I just love those colours together. And just by playing, it's some colours I'm going to make a note of and use them again. So I may just pop one of these in my journal and make a note of the colours, because I think that's a good thing to do. You know, a few of you have said, I'm not quite sure what to use a journal for. Well, if you come up with colour combinations or even stamp combinations, great to add it to your journal, and then you can look through, especially if Mr. Mojo's gone. It might just help you next time. So I hope you have a play, and if you do, please tag me in on social media. So you take care of yourselves, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll pop back again soon. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.